when you went first to school, you went to kindergarten. And in kindergarten, the idea was to push along so that you could get into first grade, and then push along so that you could get into second grade, so on, going up and up. And then you went to high school, and this was a great transition in life. And now the pressure is being put on. You must get ahead. You must go up the grades and finally be good enough to get to college. And then when you get to college, you're still going step by step up to the great moment in which you're ready to go out into the world. And then when you get out into this famous world comes the struggle for success in profession or business. And again, there seems to be a ladder before you, something for which you're reaching all the time. And then, suddenly, when you're about 40 or 45 years old in the middle of life, you wake up one day and say, I've arrived. I feel pretty much the same as I've always felt. In fact, I'm not so sure that I don't feel a little bit cheated. You can't live at all unless you can live fully now.
Your life is a lie. From the moment you could walk, they've been programming your mind, and you didn't stand a chance. You were open, trusting, curious, and they knew it. They stepped in before you could think for yourself, feeding you ideas about what to dream, what to fear, and even who you should be. And your parents? They couldn't stop it. They didn't even see it, because they were victims too, caught in the same system, designed to shape and control you. Now here you are, carrying the weight of programming you never asked for, feeling like something is missing, like your life isn't fully your own. These systems, education, media, food, and even the language you use, weren't built to help you thrive. They were built to keep you small, compliant, and predictable. Every bell you heard in school, every cartoon you watched, every phrase you repeated, it wasn't harmless. It was deliberate. A system of control perfected over generations. But here's the truth they don't want you to know. You don't have to live this way anymore. That programming doesn't define you. You can break free, reclaim your power, and rewrite the story of your life. And it all starts with seeing the truth for what it really is. Some wake up at 18, some wake up at 40, and some never wake up at all. But you're here. That means you're ready to see the truth. See, they've been designing you for one purpose: compliance. They don't want you to think critically. They want you to just follow their rules, buy their products, pay taxes, and live within the narrow boundaries they've drawn out for you. And it isn't an accident, nor a mistake, but a system perfected over generations, conditioning you to obey without realizing it yourself. The greatest lie they ever told was convincing you that you're free. But you're not free. Freedom demands awareness, and awareness is the very thing they've systematically worked to suppress. The stories you grew up with glorified obedience and cast rebellion as dangerous, ensuring you'd follow the script without question. Almost everything you believe about success, happiness, and morality was handed to you by those who profit from your conformity. Society wasn't built to nurture your individuality. It was designed to suppress it, keeping you predictable and easy to control. Take schools, for example. They seem free in your early years, but nothing in this system is truly free. You're their product. Schools condition your mind to fit their agenda, shaping you into a compliant participant in their machinery, all under the guise of education. And it doesn't stop there. As you grow older, you're funneled into a system that demands you take on massive loans for higher education, debts that tie you to their financial system for decades. The school model itself is designed to profit. Governments send schools money, but much of it never reaches the classroom. Instead, it's diverted into administrative costs, flashy projects, and systems that benefit everyone except the students. It's no coincidence that this model mirrors the prison system. Both receive funding based on numbers, students or inmates, and both are more focused on control and profit than genuine reform or growth. Schools shape obedient workers. Prisons manage those who step out of line. It's two sides of the same coin, both designed to keep you in their grip, profiting from your compliance while making you believe you're free. But it doesn't have to be this way. Recognizing the cage is the first step to reclaiming your life. You must understand how they programmed you, why they did it, and, most importantly, how to break free. It won't be easy. It will challenge everything you've been taught to believe, but real freedom demands nothing less. So let's go back to where it all begins. The foundation of this programming. It started with your childhood. The system that claims to educate you isn't just teaching, it's conditioning. From your very first day in the classroom, you're being shaped into obedience. You're taught to follow rules, respect authority, and suppress individuality, all under the guise of learning. Education has never been about liberation, but always about control. The classroom isn't a space for independent thought. It's a factory for conformity. The system isn't designed to empower you, but designed to mold you into a predictable, compliant cog in the machine. Why? Because control thrives on predictability. Empowered individuals question the system, disrupt the status quo, and demand accountability. Obedient individuals don't. And that's exactly what the system wants. Submission, not independence. But now, let's take a moment to think about the stories you were taught as a child. The curriculum isn't neutral. It's carefully written in a way to celebrate power and hide the truth about those who challenged it. History books glorify conquests as victories, but skip over all the bloodshed, the suffering, and stolen lands behind them. Entire groups of people, rebels, visionaries, and alternative leaders, are either erased or turned into footnotes. And this isn't by accident. It's done on purpose. It's designed to make you see the world not as it really is, but as how they want you to see it. Even subjects like literature, science, and math aren't safe from the system's grip. Literature elevates heroes who follow rules and punishes those who challenge authority. Science, which should encourage curiosity and exploration, is reduced to memorizing facts instead of asking questions. And math? Its beauty and creativity are stripped away, leaving you with rigid formulas and the idea that there's only one right answer. It has never been about your real knowledge, but programming your still impressionable mind. You're taught to memorize answers, not to question them. To conform, not to think for yourself. In a system built on obedience, independent thought is seen as a threat. That's why it's quietly and consistently discouraged. Now think about all those standardized tests they made you take. They told you things like, you need to know this because you won't always have a calculator. Or, it's important to learn this because there won't always be navigation. But here we are, carrying calculators and GPS in our pockets 24/7. Funny how that worked out, isn't it? Those tests were never about preparing you for the real world. They weren't a measure of intelligence, they were a measure of obedience. They were testing how well you could memorize, follow instructions, and stay inside the lines. Innovation, creativity, critical thinking, those don't fit into a system that runs on conformity. They don't want you to think differently. They want you to fit the mold, follow the script, and never ask questions. The real message behind these tests is clear. Conform or fail. Step outside the lines and you'll face the consequences, social, economic, or both. Challenge the system, and you risk being isolated, punished, or labeled as difficult. These tests don't prepare you for the complexities of real life. They prepare you to fear standing out, to settle for mediocrity, and to tie your self-worth to someone else's approval. And then there's the school bell. It's not just a signal to change classes, it's a lesson in submission. Think about it. You hear the bell, you move. No questions, no choices, just obedience. It's classical conditioning at its finest. Remember Pavlov's experiment? He rang a bell and the dogs began to salivate, expecting food. Over time, they didn't need the food, just the bell. Now look at schools. The bell rings, and you respond automatically, not because you're hungry, but because you've been trained to obey without questioning. The system rewards compliance and punishes defiance, teaching you to follow orders, not to think for yourself. This constant rhythm of interruptions, this division of your day into rigid chunks, wasn't designed to prepare you for independence. It's training you for the 9-to-5 grind. Think about it. The bell rings, and you move. Lunch is at a set time, even if you're not hungry. Breaks are limited, and someone else decides when your work starts and stops. Sound familiar? It's the same structure you'll find in most jobs. And it isn't about managing time. It is about conditioning you to give up your freedom to the clock, to live by someone else's schedule, and to see your time as something to be traded away instead of a canvas for your dreams. Over time, you stop questioning it. You stop asking why your life is broken into rigid schedules and just accept it as normal. But here's the truth. It's not normal. You know it. I know it. We all know it. And the most powerful lessons in school are the ones you aren't aware you're learning. Like to obey authority. You're taught to respect teachers and principals not because they earn it, but because they hold power. This normalizes submission to authority in every aspect of life. Or to fear failure, mistakes are punished. This creates a fear of risk and locks you into predictable, controlled behaviors. Or to seek validation. Gold stars and grades condition you to value external approval over your own instincts, making you easy to manipulate. And the transition to media and entertainment. The education system sets the foundation, but the programming doesn't stop there. Media and entertainment take over, embedding the lessons of conformity into your desires and dreams. What you consume shapes who you become. And then there's the media, another tool for brainwashing you from the moment you're born. It's designed to shape your thoughts, desires, and identity without you ever noticing. From the cartoons you loved as a child to the movies and music you consume as an adult, every image, every sound, every story is carefully crafted to keep you distracted, obedient, and hooked on the system. Think about the stories you've seen over and over again. The hero? They don't challenge the system. They fight to protect it. Their mission isn't rebellion. It's restoring order. They follow the rules, earn respect for their charm and bravery, and sacrifice their own dreams for the so-called greater good. The message is clear. The hero is good because they're attractive, obedient, and self-sacrificing. Now look at the villain. The villain is everything the system doesn't want you to be. A rebel, an outcast, someone who questions authority and challenges the status quo. Villains disrupt, they ask hard questions, and they threaten the structures you've been taught to respect. And how are they portrayed? As dangerous, evil, or untrustworthy? This isn't by accident. It's deliberate. You're being trained to fear opposition, to see rebellion as scary and wrong. Because the system doesn't just want your obedience, it wants your loyalty. From the moment you encounter these characters in cartoons as a child, the programming starts. You're taught to see goodness as following the rules and evil as breaking them. The hero becomes your role model for obedience, while the villain makes you fear questioning the rules that limit your freedom. This isn't just storytelling, it's deliberate psychological conditioning, training you for a lifetime of submission. Take Disney movies, for example. They glorify monarchies and elitism, painting kings, queens, and princesses as naturally good and rightful leaders. This teaches children to see hierarchies as normal, even fair. It's the idea that some people are born to rule while others are born to serve. And think about the stories. The hero, always someone of high status, rescues the struggling commoner, sending a subtle message that your problems can only be solved by someone more powerful. It's not just entertainment, it's shaping how you see the world. And ironically, at the same time, cartoons aren't just entertainment. They were commercials disguised as stories. Brightly colored ads and catchy jingles hook you as a child. The characters come with branded merchandise, dolls, costumes, and theme parks. Happiness becomes a transaction, one tied to the Disney lifestyle. They program you in your childhood that happiness is equated with owning the latest action figure or princess doll. For them, it's about creating lifelong habits. Children are taught that their worth comes from what they own. Brands become a measure of social status. Owning the right products makes you popular. Lacking them makes you invisible. Fast forward to adulthood, and you're still chasing the same lie. Spending money on things that give you fleeting pleasure, but leave you empty. It's a smart system, isn't it? Programming you from childhood to equate your self-worth with material things. They've trained you to believe that owning more will fill the emptiness, but it never does. And that's exactly how they keep you buying into the lie. But the media isn't their only tool of programming you. The system reaches even deeper, like the food you eat and the environment you live in. Do you remember that happy feeling of seeing your favorite cartoon characters pop up on a McDonald's menu? That spark of excitement when a Happy Meal promised not just food, but a toy tied to your favorite cartoon hero. It wasn't clever marketing, but the beginning of lifelong programming. From the moment you're a child, happiness is sold to you in a brightly colored box, with the face of your favorite hero stamped on it. The toy changes every week, keeping you coming back while the menu stays the same. Unhealthy, addictive food designed to hook you early. This isn't just about selling meals, it's about shaping consumer habits that last a lifetime. McDonald's and fast food giants like it Use the emotional bond kids have with cartoons to hardwire the idea that consumption equals joy. What seems like an innocent meal and toy combo is actually a psychological weapon shaping desires and behaviors in ways most of us never notice. The happy meal isn't just a box of nuggets and fries. It's a psychological trap designed to forge a deep association between food, reward, and happiness. The rotating toys, often tied to popular movies or TV shows, create a sense of urgency and novelty. Collect them all campaigns instill the idea that missing out on the next toy means losing a piece of happiness. But what about the food itself? The meals are filled with high-fat, high-sugar, and high-salt items engineered to trigger your brain's reward centers. The immediate gratification from these flavors makes them addictive, creating cravings long after the toy is forgotten. It's a cycle: emotional attachment, addiction to the taste, and a constant return to the counter. And by the time you're an adult, the connection is locked in. Fast food isn't just convenient, it's comforting. You've been programmed to turn to it for celebrations, stress, or even boredom, without ever questioning why it feels like the default choice. This programming affects everyone, so don't be too quick to judge those who struggle with their weight. They've been trapped by the same system, just like the rest of us. Culture isn't the values your parents pass down or the traditions you inherit naturally. From day one, it programs your thoughts, shapes your behavior, and molds your identity. But here's the truth: your culture isn't truly yours. It's been crafted by corporations, governments, and elites to manipulate and control society. And you. Look closer. The traditions you follow, the holidays you celebrate, the phrases you repeat, they aren't organic. They're engineered. Take Christmas, for example. It's no longer about spirituality or family heritage. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry designed to make you equate love and generosity with buying more. That's not culture. It's consumer conditioning. Every custom, every ritual, every so-called norm exists for one purpose: to make you predictable, compliant, and easy to exploit. Once you see this, once you realize that even your beliefs, identity, and sense of self have been programmed, you can't unsee it. And when the illusion shatters, you'll understand just how deep the control goes. And language isn't just words. It's the software they use to program your reality. Mindfulness breaks this cycle. When you observe your thoughts without judgment, you disrupt the programming. You create a gap between stimulus and response. And in that gap lies freedom. Try this. When you feel the urge to seek approval, pause. Ask yourself, what am I trying to prove, and to whom? When fear of failure grips you, reframe it. Say, this mistake isn't the end, it's the lesson I needed. And remember to take control of your mental diet. Platforms like Instagram and TikTok are engineered to hijack your attention and feed you narratives that prioritize conformity over authenticity. Be intentional about the movies, shows, and music you consume. Choose stories that empower you rather than reinforce societal control. Remember, authenticity isn't about being flawless, it's about being real. Every challenge you overcome strengthens your resolve and deepens your connection to your true self. Redefining your purpose is a personal revolution, but it's only the start. Imagine the world we could create if millions of people began living authentically. No one wants you to think purpose is out there, something to chase or to be bought. But it's been within you all along, waiting for you to reclaim it. Live authentically. The world is waiting for the real you. Let setbacks strengthen you. Your persistence encourages others to push through their fears. Every choice you make contributes to a collective shift. Imagine a world where critical thinking is celebrated, well-being is prioritized, and authenticity thrives. This is the legacy of awakening, a world built on freedom and creativity. Awakening doesn't end with you. Your courage has the power to inspire others, creating a ripple effect that can challenge and transform the systems of control. The system thrives on silence, but your voice and actions can spark a revolution. The choice is yours. Will you stay quiet, or will you take the step toward freedom? If this message resonated with you, comment below with "Breaking Free." Let's show the system that silence is no longer an option.